the unspoken language of affirmation. While many people understand affirmation as verbal encouragement, some of the most enduring affirmations are never spoken aloud. They are felt through body language, tone, attention, and availability. A nurse who adjusts a blanket and whispers, "You're safe." A friend who sits silently at the funeral without offering solutions. A mentor who continues to check in long after the spotlight fades. A parent who remembers your favorite meal on a hard day. Affirmation is most deeply received when it is embodied. When someone doesn't just say they care, they show it again and again in subtle, humble, invisible ways. Affirmation after betrayal or rejection. There is a particular kind of ache that follows betrayal, abandonment, or emotional rejection. When trust is broken, the very idea of being affirmed can feel foreign or even painful. The wound says, "You aren't worth staying for." Affirmation says, "That was a lie. You are still worth showing up for." When someone has experienced emotional abuse or manipulation, affirmation must be offered gently, without agenda. Not as flattery, but as patient restoration. Not in the heat of emotion, but with the slow warmth of presence. To be affirmed after rejection is not just to feel loved again. It is to remember that love was never supposed to feel like fear. It is to be reminded, you are not defined by who failed to see you. You are still good. You are still whole. Self-affirmation in solitude. Sometimes affirmation must begin in the mirror, not in arrogance, not in defiance, but in quiet recovery. There are moments in life when no one is speaking truth into you. In those seasons, your own voice becomes the lifeline. This does not mean ignoring community, but strengthening your inner root system until affirmation from others becomes fruit, not fuel. Practicing self-affirmation might sound like, "I am not too much. I am not invisible. My presence has value even when no one names it. I'm allowed to take up space." Journaling, spoken word, prayer, art, or music become forms of self-affirmation. And with time, those words become internalized, like a soft lamp in the dark. Affirmation in caregiving. Caregivers, whether caring for children, aging parents, patients, or loved ones with disabilities, often operate behind the scenes, unthanked, unseen. They carry emotional, physical, and spiritual loads that can deplete the soul. Affirming a caregiver is not just an act of kindness, it is an act of justice. To say, "I see your labor. I see the patience you carry every day. I see what you do when no one's watching," is to return dignity to the giver. Caregivers often cannot express their exhaustion. Their time is not their own. Their sacrifices are constant. A sincere affirmation cuts through the fog. You are not forgotten. You are not alone. Even for caregivers themselves, self-affirmation matters. To whisper, "I am doing enough. I am worthy of rest. I am not failing," can be the difference between burnout and survival. Healing intergenerational gaps through affirmation. Between generations, silence often speaks louder than words. Parents who were never affirmed by their own parents may struggle to affirm their children. Grandparents who endured hardship may be stoic or withdrawn. Children growing up in emotionally reserved homes often become adults who do not know how to receive love. Affirmation becomes a bridge. A grown child telling their aging parent, "You gave me the best of what you had. I see that now," can heal decades of misunderstanding. A parent telling their adult child, "I'm proud of how you've built your life," can repair long, silent gaps. Affirmation across generations is not about pretending the past was easy. It's about creating new patterns of speech and attention, ones that tell the truth and build up, not just look back. Even ancestors we never met, whose hands tilled the land, whose names we carry, can be affirmed in spirit. Honoring their perseverance, their sacrifices, their silent prayers affirms the lineage from which we come. Affirmation across cultures and backgrounds. Affirmation is universal, but its language is shaped by culture. In some communities, affirmation is exuberant, loud praise, expressive gestures, celebration. In others, it is quiet, simple presence, eye contact, acts of service. To affirm someone across cultures requires humility. It is not about imposing your language of affirmation, but learning theirs. What does affirmation sound like in their home, their tradition, their soul? In multicultural spaces, learning how different people receive affirmation builds bridges of respect. It fosters belonging. It dismantles assumptions and honors uniqueness. Affirmation that says, "I want to know you as you are, not as I assume you to be," becomes a sacred act of cultural hospitality. Affirmation in the face of injustice. Affirmation is not only interpersonal, it can be a response to systemic harm. When people have been dehumanized because of race, gender, disability, class, or orientation, affirmation takes on prophetic weight. You deserve to be safe. You matter here. You are not a problem, you are a person. Your story deserves to be heard. Affirming dignity in the face of injustice is not charity, it is solidarity. It is standing in the gap where society has failed to affirm. It is speaking what should have been spoken long ago. You are fully human, and I see that in you. When institutions, churches, and governments fail to affirm the value of every life, individuals and communities can step forward to reclaim that truth through voice, art, protest, and compassion. Affirmation and the power of memory. Affirmation lingers in the soul. People often remember a single sentence spoken decades ago. A teacher who said, "You're going to make a difference." A coach who said, "You lead by example." A friend who said, "You held me together." Affirmation does not disappear. It becomes memory, and memory becomes strength. This is why it matters not just that we affirm, but when we do. The right word in a dark season can become a torch for a lifetime. A sentence spoken in youth can become a source of courage in old age. Affirmation is one of the few things you can give that multiplies forever. What affirmation is not to preserve its sacredness, it's important to recognize what affirmation is not. It is not manipulation. It does not flatter to get something in return. It is not codependency. It does not affirm unhealthy behavior. It is not excessive praise. It does not inflate ego at the cost of truth. It is not performance. It does not require the person to earn it. True affirmation is rooted in honesty and love. It tells the truth about someone's goodness, not to control them, but to liberate them. Not to make them owe you, but to help them see themselves clearly. Affirmation as resistance. In times of despair, affirmation is resistance. To affirm someone in grief is to say, "Even now, you are not beyond reach." To affirm someone in recovery is to say, "You are more than your relapse." To affirm someone in failure is to say, "Your worth is untouched." Affirmation refuses to let someone be defined by their worst moment. It reclaims stories. It names what is eternal in a person when the temporary feels overwhelming. To affirm in a society that thrives on judgment, division, and performance is countercultural. It is to slow down and say, "This person matters, apart from their usefulness to me." Affirmation in times of transition. When someone is leaving a job, moving away, retiring, or entering a new chapter of life, affirmation marks the transition with dignity. You've left a mark that can't be erased. Your faithfulness shaped us more than you know. Your courage to begin again inspires everyone around you. We often wait too long to say these things, but a farewell becomes a blessing when it is accompanied by affirmation. It tells the person, "You were here and it mattered." Creating an affirming legacy. Affirmation can be built into rituals, habits, and family culture. A dinner table where each person names something they appreciated that day. A weekly check-in where coworkers highlight each other's quiet wins. A journal where parents write affirming messages to their children as they grow. A memory box filled with letters of encouragement during hard seasons. Legacies are not made of medals or resumes. They're made of moments. And the moments that echo longest are often those where someone heard the truth about their worth, spoken by someone who meant it. Closing expansion affirmation is one of the purest forms of love. It does not possess, correct, or fix. It simply says, "I see you." It's the pause in a hectic world that reminds someone they are more than a function. It's the choice to highlight someone's essence, not their utility. It is a kind of moral and emotional justice, a recognition of the soul's weight and worth. If we could become people who affirm more than we analyze, bless more than we critique, and notice more than we assume, our homes, schools, workplaces, and communities would become sanctuaries of growth, trust, and healing. Affirmation doesn't just change how people feel, it changes who they become. And that is its quiet miracle.